Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's from Canto 2, which is entitled Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 2, which is entitled The Lord in the Heart, and text 30. And this morning I am actually preaching in place of Mother Gita, who's in ISKCON Atlanta, who can't make it this morning. Hare Krishna. So without further ado, we'll start the class. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavallabha Ivadadari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Ivadadari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadadi Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari 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 Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Astottara Satyashishi Maharaj Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Astottara Satyashishi Maharaj His Divine Grace Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Kuti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai ISKCON founder Acharya Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय वृंदावन धाम की जय मथुरा धाम की जय नवद्वीप धाम की जय मायापुर धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय जगन्नाथ स्वामी की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय तुलसी देवी की जय भक्ति देवी की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय निताय गौर अभिमानंदे हरि हरि बोल all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Gauranga Vaishnava Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Nityanamani Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Sutatamani Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Narayana Namaskritya Narontevam Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Vidirayat Nastapayisva Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavata Uttamastuke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2, Text 30. Sabhuta Sukshmendriya Sanikacham Manomayam Devamayam Vikaryam Samsadhya Gatya Satena Yati Vijnana Tattvam Gunasani Rudham Sabhuta Sukshmendriya Sanikacham Manomayam Devamayam Vikaryam Samsadhya Gatya Sahatena Yati Vijnana Tattvam Gunasani Rudham Sabhuta Sukshmendriya Sanikacham Manomayam Devamayam Vikaryam Samsadhya Gatya Sahatena Yati Vijnana Tattvam Gunasani Rudham Hare Krishna.
Sabhuta Shukmendriya Sanikarsham Mano Mayam Devaya Mayam Vikaryam Samsadhya Gatya Sahate Nayati Vijnana Tattvam Skunasani Rodham. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? All right, we'll do word for word. Sa, he, the devotee. Bhuta, the gross. Shukshma, and the subtle. Indriya, senses. Sanikasham, the point of neutralization. Manamayam, the mental plane. Devamayam, in the mode of goodness. Vikaryam, egoism. Samsadhya, surpassing. Gatya, by the progress. Saha, along with. Tena, them. Yati goes. Vijnana, perfect knowledge. Tattvam, truth. Guna, the material modes. Sanirodham, completely suspended. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. The devotee, thus surpassing the gross and the subtle forms of coverings, enters the plane of egoism. And in that status, he emerges the material modes of nature, ignorance and passion, in this point of neutralization, and thus reaches egoism in goodness. After this, all egoism is merged in the Mahatattva, and he comes to the point of pure self-realization. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Just letting you know a little bit ahead of time that it's a long purport, so much to be learned from there. Pure self-realization, as we have several times discussed, is the pure consciousness of admitting oneself to be the eternal servitor of the Lord. Thus, one is reinstated in his original position of transcendental loving service to the Lord, as will be explained, as will be clearly explained in the following verse. This stage of rendering transcendental service to the Lord without any hopes of emolument from the Lord or any other way can be attained when the material senses are purified and the original pure state of the senses is revived. It is suggested herein that the process of purifying the senses is by the yogic way, namely, the gross senses are merged in the mode of ignorance, and the subtle senses are merged in the mode of passion. The mind belongs to the mode of goodness, and therefore is called Devamaya, or godly. Perfect purification of the mind is made possible when one is fixed in the conviction of being the eternal servitor of the Lord. Therefore, simple attainment of goodness is also a material mode. One has to surpass this stage of material goodness and reach the point of purified goodness, or Vasudev Sattva. This Vasudev Sattva helps one to enter into the kingdom of God. We may also remember in this connection that the process of gradual emancipation by the devotee in the manner mentioned above, although authoritative, is not viable in the present age because of people's being primarily unaware of yoga practice. The so-called yoga practice by the professional protagonists may be physiologically beneficial, but such small successes cannot help one in the attainment of spiritual emancipation as mentioned herein. 5,000 years ago, when the social status of human society was in perfect Vedic order, yoga process mentioned herein was a common affair for everyone, because everyone, and especially the Brahmana and the Kshatriya, was trained in the transcendental art under the care of the spiritual master far away from home, in the status of brahmacharya. Modern man, however, is incompetent to understand it perfectly. Lord Sri Chaitanya therefore made it easier for the prospective devotee of the present age in the following specific manner. Ultimately, there is no difference in the result. The first and foremost point is that one must understand the prime importance of Bhakti Yoga. The living beings in different species of life are undergoing different terms of engagement according to their fruitive actions and reactions. But in the execution of different activities, one who secures some resources in Bhakti Yoga can understand the importance of service to the Lord through the causeless mercy of the Lord, as well as that of the spiritual master. A sincere soul is helped by the Lord through meeting a bona fide spiritual master, the representative of the Lord. By the instruction of such a spiritual master, one gets the seed of Bhakti Yoga. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends that the devotee sow the seed of Bhakti Yoga in his heart and nurture it by the watering of hearing and chanting the holy name, fame, etc. of the Lord. The simple process of offenselessly chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord will gradually promote one very soon to the stage of emancipation. There are 3 stages in chanting the holy name of the Lord. First stage is the offensive chanting of the holy name, and the second is the reflective stage of chanting the holy name. The third stage is the offenseless chanting of the holy name of the Lord. In the second stage only, the stage of reflection, between the offensive and offenseless stages, one automatically attains the stage of emancipation. In the offenseless stage, one actually enters into the kingdom of God, though physically he may apparently be within the material world. To attain the offenseless stage, one must be on guard in the following manner. When we speak of hearing and chanting, it means that not only should one chant and hear of the holy name of the Lord as Ram, Krishna, or systematically the 16 names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But one should also read and hear the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of devotees. The primary practice of Bhakti Yoga will cause the seed already sown in the heart to sprout, and by a regular watering process, as mentioned above, the Bhakti Yoga creeper will begin to grow. By systematic nurturing, the creeper would grow to such an extent that it will penetrate the coverings of the universe, as we have heard in the previous verses, reach the effulgent sky, the Brahma Jyoti, and go farther and farther and reach the spiritual sky, where there are innumerable spiritual planets called Vaikuntha Lokas. Above all of them is Krishna Loka or Goloka Vrindavan, wherein the growing creeper enters and takes repose at the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna, the original personality of Godhead. When one reaches the lotus feet of Lord Krishna at Goloka Vrindavan, the watering process of hearing and reading, as also chanting of the holy name of the Lord in the pure devotional stage, fructifies. And the fruits grown there in the form of love of God are tangibly tasted by the devotee, even though he is here in the material world. The ripe fruits of love of God are relished only by the devotees constantly engaged in the watering process as described above. But the working devotee must always be mindful so that the creeper which has grown will not be cut off. Therefore, he should be mindful in the following considerations. 1. Offense by one at the feet of a pure devotee may be likened to the mad elephant who devastates a very good garden if it enters. 2. One must be very careful to guard himself against such offenses at the feet of pure devotees, as one protects a creeper by all-around fencing. 3. It so happens that by the watering process, some weeds are also grown. And unless such weeds are uprooted, the nurturing of the main creeper or the creeper of Bhakti Yoga may be hampered. 4. Actually, these weeds are material enjoyment, merging of a self in the absolute without separate individuality, and many other desires in the field of religion, economic development, sense enjoyment, and emancipation. 5. There are many other weeds, like disobedience to the tenets of the revered scriptures, unnecessary engagements, killing animals, and hankering after material gain, prestige, and adoration. 6. If sufficient care is not taken, then the watering process may only help to breed the weeds, stunting the healthy growth of the main creeper and resulting in no fructification of the ultimate requirement, love of God. 7. The devotee must therefore be very careful to uproot the different weeds in the very beginning. Only then will the healthy growth of the main creeper not be stunted. 8. And by so doing, the devotee is able to to relish the fruit of love of God and thus live practically with Lord Krishna, even in this life, and be able to see the Lord in every step. The highest perfection of life is to enjoy life constantly in the association of the Lord, and one who can relish this does not aspire after any temporary enjoyment of the material world via other media. Oma Ginati Vidandasya Gyana Gyana Shalakaya Chakshu Umbilitam Dina Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vistam Stapitam Dina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Krishna Padaya Krishna Peshtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirveshesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshataya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Siva Shari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. The English translation again. The devotee, thus surpassing the gross and subtle forms of coverings, enters the plane of egoism, and in that status, he merges the material modes of nature, ignorance, and passion in this point of neutralization, and thus reaches egoism in goodness. After this, all egoism is merged in the Mahatattva, and he comes to the point of pure self-realization. Hare Krishna. So, this is a text that is explaining how the yogi who is experienced and how to raise the life air from the different chakras in the lower part of the body, or to say, when we consider the whole body, then we say from the middle part of the body all the way up to the top of the head, and knows how or exactly what to do to merge things that they're using in the physical as well as especially the subtle, merge all of them into the source of it, which is the Mahatattva, the material source itself. So basically, they're giving up everything gross and subtle. And at that point, the soul is the only one to be concentrated on. And at that point is pure self-realization, connected with spirituality, connected with the soul. So that's what's described here in this particular description from this text. Sukadeva Goswami is explaining how all of this is done. Now, Srila Prabhupada says first that pure self-realization, which is the very last thing that's mentioned in the translation, is to admit oneself to be the eternal servitor of the Lord. That admittance is very important. And the proof and even the reasoning for it is not hard to come to in terms of that conclusion, the reasoning. The Lord is the creator of everything and the manifester of everything that be. Aham Sarvasya Prabhava. So everything emanates from him. So that is in the Bhagavad Gita. He says it himself. It's not somebody even reporting that Krishna is that way, where pure devotees do it also. But this is Krishna himself telling Arjuna, I am the source of everything, spiritual and material. So everything comes from him. Then clearly, those of us that are created by him should be in a subservient position because he's the owner. Even if you take a regular company, one cannot be boss of the owner of the company or even at the same level as the owner of the company. We understand that, even from a material standpoint. So the reason why people don't connect in self-realization is because they want to play the role of being the leader in this material world. It is like that in communities, it's like that in countries, it's like that internationally. Mm-hmm. People trying to lord it over material nature, be the boss of the material nature. But Krishna is the boss. Krishna is number one. Therefore, everybody else will have to be subservient to the Lord. And therefore, that self-realization, realization of where our position is that sentence we have to admit and be convinced that we are eternal servitor of the Lord. And if we are eternal servitor of the Lord and the Lord is boss, then what he says in order for us to be in harmony with the Lord is what we have to take. When he says it and we do it. Then you become a proper servant. He says one thing, you say another thing. That's a problem. Mm-hmm. And the Lord is the owner of everything. Therefore, if he decides to smash you, there's nothing you can do about it. Mm-hmm. To the point that even Rake Krishna Morike, More Krishna Rake. If Krishna determined that you're not going to die, it doesn't matter how good the weapon that's being used is, you're not going to die. Ultimately, everything is in the hands of the Lord. And Krishna decides that you die, no matter where you go in this material energy, you're going to die. So he's complete controller. And Lord Brahma, the head of this particular universe, says, Ishvara Parama Krishna. Ishvara Parama, the supreme personality of God, Godhead is Krishna. If anybody knows, he would know. Even he was the one that was given the task of coming up with the varieties in the universe, planets, as well as things inside the planets. And he appointed different demigods to different positions. This is stated in the Shastra. We had Bhagavatamrita especially. He admits it. And that person in that particular position, Lord Brahma, is saying that Krishna is the Supreme Personality. So when one finally stops this whole idea of being the Lord of everything that they survey in the material world and admits oneself, I am the servitor forever of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that's how I'm going to be satisfied, peaceful, and happy. That consciousness reinstates that person from being controller, fake controller, basically, to the original position of rendering service because it's a servant, eternal servitor, rendering transcendental loving service, service from the heart to the Lord. So, in that way, the senses get purified because if the senses are not engaged in the service of the Lord, they will be engaged in material activities just to enjoy, so-called enjoyment. But enjoyment in material realm is temporary. Those who are saintly and who are advanced don't take part in anything temporary, as will be explained in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, text 22. We'll get to that later. Yehi samspati jaboga. So it's suggested that here, that the process of purifying the senses is the yogic way, and it's been explained how things are merged, grows into passion, goes into the ignorance part, subtle into the passion part, mind into the goodness part, and then everything is left in the Mahatattva, and the senses get purified that way, and the person becomes way more connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, can we do that in this age? Answer is no. But Srimad Bhagavatam doesn't tell things based on the age only, not in Kali Yuga. It talks about everything and everywhere. So we can have our minds purified when we fix it in a very convinced way that we are the eternal servitor of the Lord. That's how we surpass the modes. We don't merge like grows into the ignorance and the subtle, into the passion and the mind, into like that. We can't do that. We don't have that practice. But when a person's mind is convinced, his whole body is convinced, and they live a life based on the fact that they are eternal servitor of the Lord, that is purification. They are ready to hear what the Lord tells them to do in Bhagavad Gita. They are ready to do what the spiritual master dictates, again from Bhagavad Gita, because Bhagavad Gita is where Krishna says we should approach the spiritual master who's bona fide, inquire from him in a submissive way, and also render service to him. And he says that the spiritual master who's bona fide has seen the truth and will be able to impart the truth about Krishna to the person who inquires. So basically, we don't have to go through this mechanical process. We can just chant the holy name of the Lord, and that's been made available by none other than Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna, come in the mood of Srimati Radharani, the topmost devotee of the Lord, and who is a personification of Bhakti Yoga itself. So, we cannot do this because we cannot do this mechanical way of leaving the body in different senses and then Mahatattva and so on, as described here. Because people actually are not aware, Sri Prabhupada says, this age of yogic practice. The only popular so-called yoga is Hatha Yoga, which strengthens the body and puts the airs in the body in the proper position. And basically, things get aligned properly. But it is for material life. And we know what material life is basically sense gratification. That's what people are about. So that doesn't help us. Even if we do, that does not mean the devotee should not involve themselves in Hatha Yoga, but they should have a different consciousness about it. There's certain yogic positions make us feel better. It is because we want to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees. This is the reason for health in all aspects of health. We know that the physical body is temporary, but while we're still in this physical body, as individual souls, we are eternal servitors of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we're convinced about that, then the machine that we're using in serving the Lord should be put in good condition. And that should be the reason for our health. So everything has to be based on connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how to serve him. Our whole life should be tilted in such a way that Bhakti Yoga is always primary in everything we do. Everything we do. So some years back, Srila Prabhupada was saying, 5,000 years ago, or even before that, people were understanding what the yogic process was, and therefore people got help from the spiritual master. They will go to the spiritual master's ashram, start the first ashram level, which is brahmacharya, to become brahmachari, sense control. Modern man is not about sense control. Modern man is trying to satisfy the material senses. So we can understand the present, the way to go through this process. But it was being done at that time. So the first and foremost point, Srila Prabhupada said, is to understand the importance of Bhakti Yoga. Bhaktyamam abhijanati. Krishna says, by devotional service and only by devotional service does one get to know him. By devotional service is one gets to know Krishna. So that's the most important thing in our lives. If we put anything else, Bhakti Yoga secondary to anything else, then we don't understand that we are going to waste this life. We are going to have to take birth again. We cannot go back to Godhead. Bhakti Yoga should be the prime importance. So if there's anything that seems to be taking away time at the material level and keeping us from being connected to our Bhakti Yoga responsibilities, we have to understand that we are in Maya. And this is what Maya has done. Maya Parita Jnana. Maya has stolen, at least temporarily, our intelligence. And so now we're not as concerned about what we need to do to serve the Lord, to serve the devotees, to serve the spiritual master. And when we say spiritual master, it means all spiritual masters, not the one that initiated you only. No, all spiritual masters. They are one. You can't serve one and refuse to serve another. Then you don't understand what spiritual master means. Anyone who does that. But still, it's a process of purification. So that's why we're here. And if we've done something like that, then of course an opportunity comes next time we correct it. And if we're really, really, really humble, we'll even apologize. If we were supposed to do something and we didn't do. We should never, ever be reluctant to apologize when we're wrong. Apologizing does not make us smaller. Apologizing does not mean that the person we apologize to is better than us. We apologize because we make mistakes. And mistakes are one of the 4 defects of humans. So it's going to happen. But better than even apology is the understanding of what mistakes have been done. And then we resolve not to repeat those mistakes. And sometimes those things are not well understood. So then it becomes important to have a discussion. So things are laid out clearly. And then from then on, we can relate better. It happens in every temple, so many places. And I'll tell my own situation one time. So I was in Gideonagri, living there at that time. And at the time, I was in charge of the Tulsi house, maintaining Tulsi Marani. There were quite a number of Tulsi plants in the house, set aside for that, for maintaining, in fact, built with care of Tulsi in mind, that particular room. So there was so much sunshine. The roof was made of glass so that the sun, Tulsi could have very, very nice, amount of sun even while she's not outside. So there were some bugs on Tulsi. So we had to do some trying to, free Tulsi from this disturbance by these white flies. So I was doing it one day. The devotees were in the kitchen, and there's just a little hallway that separates the kitchen from the main temple. So I came through with a bucket of water, some things that I've done, some natural soap in the water that I'd used to spray to kind of get rid of these bugs. It's in a bucket, and where to throw it away, I came in the kitchen. And the kitchen has 2 sinks. One of them is for the deities. Actually, it has 3. One of them is for the deities, and there's a bigger one for washing big pots and so on. Then there's a small one, not that small, but 4 divisions in it, or 3 divisions in it, in the back. And that's where I threw the water from the Tulsi house, that one. And I thought I was okay. There was a devotee in the kitchen at the time, and he saw it, and he immediately got upset with me. Why did you throw this water in this place? And it went on and on and on and on. And I just calmly listened. And after he finished explaining why he thought that I shouldn't throw the water there, I apologized. And I said, so where should I put it? And she was pointing to the place where the large spots are cleaned. I said, all right, so next time I'll put it there. So that was the end of that. And it was really the end of that. And because I apologized, he let it alone. He made his point and we went on. Another time, This doesn't have anything to do now with Tulsi. I was in the kitchen, and he was there again. Most of his services were in the kitchen. And on that day, he was making pizza for the devotees in the temple. I live outside the temple, so I didn't think that had anything to do with it. And I was still doing my service to Tulsi. But I wasn't in there with any bucket of water to throw it on it. I just was in the kitchen at that time. And he saw me and said, Boo, I'm making some pizzas. Would you like to take some? At first, I wasn't going to be that eager to take anything, but he insisted. You should take the food. Take as much as you want. You got a family of, you have a wife, two children. Take some for them too. And he was the same guy that jumped all over me first time. This time was very, very, very nice and not only cordial towards me, but wanted to give me pizzas that I knew were being made for the temple devotees. This wasn't a Sunday afternoon thing. No, it was just for those who were there living in the temple. And I was living outside the temple. I just came in to do service. But he still insisted. So I had to take quite a number of pieces of pizza. And I was thinking, had I fought this guy because the place that I threw water in the first time that he got upset was the place that people normally put things that, who don't want to. It's a deity sink. So it really was not wrong to put it there. But I had to back off because he was so upset the first time he saw it. And to just listen to him, he made his point. And now the relationship was saved. So the next time he was giving me all of this pizza. How we relate to the bodies is very important. And I'm not saying that I'm better than anyone. No, but there's things you learn. You learn these things, and therefore, when situation comes, you know how to behave. If you jump all over other people, how would they take it? Literally, offense, and this is one of the 8 things that was this in the purpose. We'll get to that also. Very important how to protect our devotional keeper. So we have to be very careful how we relate to others. And even if we find somebody is physically younger than we are, we still have to be careful how we relate to them. Because you see, the soul of that person is not younger than our soul. It's not. We are all part and parcel of Krishna. And we're learning how to behave and be loving towards each other. And from that, learn how to love a spiritual master. And then from that, love the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Beloved, that is the sequence. You cannot get to Krishna Prema without loving devotees first. You have to be open to being helpful and loving towards devotees, sensitive to devotees. If you jump all over devotees, you're doing exactly the opposite. So we always have to open up properly to devotees. Younger, older, it does not matter. Young, old is at the physical level, not at the spiritual level. And we are not these physical bodies. So when the devotee is made upset by us, we have to understand we are the aparadis. And aparad means we can't go back to the spiritual world. We'll take another body. That's what's going to happen. So offense is very, very important. Now, Srila Prabhupada talks about the offenseless chanting. First, it says that in chanting the holy name of the Lord, we have, there are 3 stages. First, the word is offensive chanting. That is inattentive chanting. The second is when we are chanting the holy name with better attention. Third stage is the offenseless chanting of the holy name. The second stage, the Prabhupada says, the stage of reflection, sometimes called namabhas, between the offensive and the offenseless stage. One then begins to connect with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The loving sentiments begin to build up in the person's heart or in the person's soul. So that's the second stage. Now, some of us who chant, and in the chanting, we begin to, have our minds roam in different places, and then the attention is not there fully. We might get a little bit disturbed about what our chances are of going back to Godhead because of that's the stage, the first stage, offensive chanting. But Lord Chaitanya also helps us there. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, even if we're not paying great attention, it's just like everything else. Practice makes perfect. Keep practicing. Don't give up chanting, but chant and chant and chant and hear everything about how to improve the chanting. Any kind of lecture by a devotee, a senior devotee, an advanced devotee, or a bona fide spiritual master about chanting. Hear and get points there. And from that, apply it with a view to improving the chanting. And at some point, the second stage, will come to pass in our chanting attempts. Now, it says, Papa says that the offensive stage, one enters into the kingdom of God. We are already there, even though physically, Papa says he may apparently be within the material world. So why did he put the word apparently there when the person is chanting at the offensive stage? Apparently, he may be within the material world. Well, the material world is only a part, a small part, only 1/4 of all that there is. Everything else is spiritual. So it is explained, and I've heard some spiritual masters explain this, that our situation is like we are in a particular place, but we don't see that place for what it is because there is a covering on top of us. It does not mean we're not there. It's just that there is a covering, and that covering prevents us from not only seeing, but also being able to interact at the place that we are. That is our situation in the material world. The material world has a covering, the material sky. And we can't see beyond that. We have senses that are very limited, and therefore that's our situation. We cannot relate like that. But it does not mean that we're not part of the spiritual world. We're just covered. As it said, that those in the spiritual world see the material, the Mahatattva like a cloud. And so everybody actually in the material world has to be released from this limitation, the material sky, and then they can go back. And it takes offenseless chanting or purified chanting. And Lord Chaitanya helps us with that. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. That's why that mantra is there. But still, we have to try very hard to concentrate and get help for the chanting so that we will get an opportunity to get to that offenseless stage. Otherwise, we'll be hearing and hearing and hearing, and we won't be able to do it. So when a person is chanting in that way, then the kripa grows. Now, there's not only chanting that's important. Yesterday, we were talking about it in the temple. There are 9 processes of serving. We don't do anything, as we just talked about it. We don't do anything so perfectly. Therefore, Krishna has made it available. 9 different processes. We just do any of them, a combination of them, on top of the chanting and hearing. Hearing is for guidance, and also to show what is what, reveal Krishna more through hearing. So when we chant, and then we do other services, temple services, and by the way, home services to our home deities, that service does not replace temple service. Temple service is 100% Krishna's business, the temple. Our homes are not 100% Krishna's business, even though we try to make it to a good extent, things about Krishna are put there. But the deity standards at home is not the same as the deity standards in the temple. So that is some sort of break that's given to us, concession, the home worship for grihastas and also vanaprasthas, if they're still home. Other than that, service has to be in the temple with 100% and doing it at a level that we're supposed to do in serving the deity. So the things that we have to be careful about, the last point here, Srila Prabhupada listed so wonderfully in the purport. One, if we offend a pure devotee, it's like a mad elephant who devastates a good garden once they get into that garden. Just mess up everything that's there. Offense will, in fact, destroy our devotional creeper. Now, Srila Prabhupada mentions offense by one at the feet of a pure devotee. Do pure devotees have badges or labels? I am a pure devotee? No. So how do you know that you have a pure devotee? Nimai was born in Navadvip. Did anybody know he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Not even his close associates at the time knew it. So later on they found out. So how do you know we have a pure devotee? The fact is you don't know. I don't know. Therefore, I make sure I don't offend any devotee. That way, those who are becoming pure or those who are pure, I don't offend anyone. So offense at the feet of a pure devotee basically should be changed to, for our purposes, even though it is a fact, what Srila Prabhupada said, to play safe, we don't offend the lotus feet of any devotee. That way, pure devotees, non-pure devotees, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're not offensive, therefore we won't get into that situation. If we offend the devotee, Srimati Radharani gets upset with us. And Srimati Radharani gets upset means we're not going back to Godhead. Not this lifetime. So we have to be very careful how we relate to devotees. That's one. Srila Prabhupada says we have to be very, very, very careful by all around fencing to protect the creeper. Now, all around fencing means just being careful what we do in relating to devotees. The devotees can be very helpful. Just they're like desire trees, need help, they'll help you. But if you're the same devotees, if you offend them, we're not going back to Godhead. Everything falls apart. And meaning that if we offend the devotee, it doesn't matter we're chanting a minimum of 16 rounds. It doesn't matter we're following the 4 regulated principles. We still are not going back to Godhead when we offend devotees. Why? The reason is, if we're going to be like that, this is the training ground for going back to Godhead, to relate to those who are there, who are all pure. So then if we start offending here, it is taken to mean that if we are allowed back to Godhead, we're going to go offend people there also. Why? Because we're already doing it here. So why should they allow you back? That's why you don't go. It does not matter how many rounds you chant then. So offense is that's like a mad elephant disease. It's a killer of the opportunity to go back. Now, when we're watering our devotional creeper, sometimes weeds are also grown. And that's Maya's department. It will bring up things that we need to work on and bring it really to the forefront of our lives. And sometimes situations are set up to see if we can, in fact, transcend the difficulties which are put under the 4 regulated principles. Are we still attracted to drinking? Are we still attracted to illicit sex? Are we still attracted to meat eating? Are we still like that? So those will be tested. And anyone that we fail, that means we are allowing weeds to grow around our devotional creeper. and the weeds take the nutrients from the soil which the devotional creeper is growing, and then they weaken the devotional creeper. So we have to be very careful that while we're growing in Krishna consciousness, we are also doing what's right in order that the weeds may be taken out. Otherwise, that creeper of Bhakti Yoga will be stunted or hampered from growing. So we have to be very, very careful there. That's things that always have to be at the back of our minds. My spiritual master told me Bhakti Maharaj, he said, actually he said in a lecture, not me directly. There's some things he said directly, but this one is in a lecture, saying that devotees who are advanced, one of the things they're very careful about, apart from chanting the prescribed number of rounds and obeying the regulated principles, is they're very careful not to offend other devotees. If they're in a situation where they get very upset, they'll get out of that situation. Physically move themselves out of the situation. Or if they got to say something in anger that would actually offend someone, they will clamp up. They will not speak at all. Because they're always aware of the necessity not to bring weeds around the devotional creeper. So Srila Prabhupada gives other examples. And we'll stop in a minute. I know we're running a little bit long here. The purport itself is very long. Some of the weeds are like disobedience to what the scripture says to do, things that are unnecessary, material things, engaging oneself in it, killing animals. As your Prabhupada screams about that to the Christians, your commandment says thou shalt not kill, and you're still doing it. Oh, we don't have to kill people. It doesn't say that. Thou shalt not kill human beings. It says thou shalt not kill. So even insects, we're not supposed to. And hankering after adoration, distinction, and profit. All of those, the false ego, and also material things. Watering the process, that process is hearing and chanting and doing other services, especially in the temple, and being of assistance to devotees. So Srila Prabhupada answered by saying that the highest perfection of life is to constantly be in the association of Lord, which the Lord also says in Bhagavad Gita 1865, Man mana bhava bhakto. We always should be thinking about the Lord. So many points here in this one purport, which is very long. And at this point, I think we'll end it because we just have to remember we have very, very nice opportunity to go back to Godhead. We have to work on our chanting, work on protecting our creepers, definitely not be offensive. And in that way, we will grow and get an opportunity to go back to Godhead after this particular body is finished. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you all for coming. And this is the time to unmute yourself if you have comments to make or questions to ask or realizations to share with everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisance as always to Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah,
Thank
glory to your
you to one
Prabhupada.
of class and actually really stressing on the point of devotee relationships. I think that's one thing that I see happening over and over again. Sadly, that we take it for granted, and we cross the line of taking each other for granted without even knowing. And that is because, and I asked a similar question about this from, I think I asked Chandramali Swami, I don't remember, but I asked one senior devotee about this. Why is it that devotees are not aware when they cross this really fine line of taking devotees for granted, making Vaishnav apparat, service apparat, and all that? And the senior devotee said, because we are not in devotee association as much as we should, and we're not hearing. That's the two key points. And I think it was Chandramali Swami. I can't remember. I just asked like recently, a couple of weeks ago, less. And because myself and a couple of devotees had that question, because it's happening so rampantly so frequently, and we're not aware of it, and we're not able to catch it, and it's a very, very fine line, very fine line. And it's because we are not hearing, and we are not in devotee association. Therefore, we are not learning. Therefore, we are not being corrected. Therefore, we are not growing. So I wanted to share that that the more we hear, the more we are in devotee association, the more we allow ourselves to be taught, just like going to school. I think sometimes we forget that we were in school, and we were corrected by our teachers, and the teachers were always correcting us because they knew more than we do. And I think that's one thing that we forget, because we think that once we come into Krishna consciousness, we got it all figured out. We have become masters, and we know what to do. No, that is the reason why in ISKCON we have gurus, we have senior devotees, we have, senior mentors, counselors, for that reason, just like in a regular school, is to help us to know what is right and what is not right and how we should do things. And I think that's one thing that we should always catch ourselves and know that we are in the school of learning. As long as we're in this material world, we are in the school of learning. We haven't perfected it. And until we haven't perfected it, then we are bound to make mistakes. And we should recognize that we are making mistakes, and we should learn from the mistakes and not repeat it. And yeah, and I think it goes back to the hearing, to the chanting, and to devotee association. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you very much for the comments. Devotee Association, how very much important it is. Devotee Association, one of the things it does is that it makes us more comfortable to do bhakti yoga. Now, you might think, well, but that's expected. Well, now think of it this way. How much bhakti yoga can we do around non-devotees? If you're around non-devotees, how much of that can we do? As soon as we try to do something here, they'll find us kind of weird because they don't do those things that we do. If we're around non-devotees, won't we be encouraged to break the regulatory principles? Yes, we will be, because that's sense gratification to them. That's how they so-called enjoy themselves. So devotee association is what makes us easily carry on with bhakti yoga in the way that is required. In devotee association, the devotees are not surprised. In fact, they expect us to do things in bhakti yoga. Not only do they expect us to do things in bhakti yoga, they do it with us too. Become a congregational activity. So now the final point about devotee association is, one fine point about it is, just like you're learning a particular sport, you have to have training. You have to be around somebody who knows the intricacies of that sport better than you. Therefore, that association, the general association with all devotees, makes it possible to do things in bhakti yoga without anybody being surprised, like non-devotees would be if we were around them trying to do things devotional. But in order that we grow, we also have to take instruction and watch the activities of those who are advanced, what they do, and learn from them. It's called following the footsteps of and taking advice from those who are advanced. Therefore, our association should also include those who are advanced in Krishna consciousness. That's very important. So devotee association in general with everybody, respect everybody, relate to everybody, but relate especially and open up in confidence to those who are more advanced and can guide you and assist for us to grow. Hare Krishna. Any other comments? You can unmute yourself. If not, then thank all of you for coming. And this is the beginning of the week, so have a nice, wonderful Krishna conscious week. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhascha kripasindhubheva patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Glory
Krishna.
Shri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Glory Shri Prabhupada.